think I'm going to start. Yeah, I'll start with this. So before service today, Meg came to me and shared something that I was completely unaware of. And although I'm not, I don't like to announce things that are sort of global awarenesses, because if I miss any throughout the year, then it's like, why didn't you talk about that or this one? So I try to keep that stuff down to a minimum because I don't want to insult anybody or forget something. But she brought up to my attention today that Thursday, November 20th, was actual International Transgender Day of Remembrance. Mm-hmm. And with the Daily Word today about the freedom and the peace for people, I thought it was appropriate to mention that since 1999, this day has been recognized that I was unaware of, or for those that have been murdered because of them being who they are. And I think wherever that is in the world, that needs to stop. And so I just wanted to bring that to everybody's awareness in case you weren't aware that every year since 1999 on November 20th, this day has been recognized. And so I just invite all of us to just hold a moment of silence, if we could please, for, I think she said that there was 220-ish people in the last year that have lost their lives. 223, 283 in the last year that have lost their lives in the world because of this. So that we know of, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for that. Where do you go after that? So last week, I was up in Comox, and this month I have been talking about the different variances of release. And so last week, I discussed in Comox the idea of forgiveness. So in our first week together, we talked about release, then we talked about surrender, and last week I brought in the idea of forgiveness and how that can support us as a final sort of step to freedom. Is that when we release things, we at least we're immediately recognizing there is something to let go of within us. And then we can surrender to that idea, surrender to it fully, and allow that freedom, that peace to enter us. And from that, then, if you're anything like me, there's probably some forgiveness work to do to sort of top it all off as to where can I forgive others, where can I forgive situations, where can I forgive myself? Is there anybody here that's really hard on themselves? You know, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I did that. You know, those moments that come up in our lives where we just think, oh, what was I? And we don't want to carry that around, because what that does is it weighs us down and it takes away that ability to have freedom. And I'm not talking about freedom out in the world. I'm actually talking about the freedom to be who we are within ourselves. And to me, there's a difference. There's a difference between walking around with shame and guilt that nobody else will see, but you'll be carrying it with you, and then being able to walk around without that shame or guilt. And when I've seen both sides of that within myself, where when you don't have that burden, you're able to greet people, you're able to be present, you're able to actually be with other people, because that shame or guilt that you might be carrying around is sort of based in fear. And anytime we're carrying that fear around or that regret around, it's really hard to be present. It's hard to be with others, and it's hard to be with ourselves. And then we block love, we block creativity, we block possibility, we block the freedom to truly be the Christ light that we are. And so the last piece of that is forgiveness. And when we enter that forgiveness, then we can actually be in the flow of life. And has anybody here ever experienced the flow of life? You know, where time passes and you didn't even know. You're so engaged in something, you're so present that you don't want to stop what you're doing. Somebody interrupts you and you're like, what? And then you got to forgive yourself and forgive them, and you got to do you got to take a break to do all of that work again. But you know what I mean? You have those moments where life is just cruising. And that, to me, is the place that we'd like to get to all the time, isn't it? Don't we want to be in that state more than not in that state? Yeah. So if we think of this as flow is our native state, it's not a mystical high, it's the way life is designed to operate. And Charles Fillmore said, divine order is the underlying rhythm of the universe. And so when we're in that flow state, it's like divine order takes over. Things show up. The phone rings and somebody is there with something that is actually going to support the very stuff that you're working on in your life. Or you have a happening on the street where you meet somebody and a connection begins, or you go to an event. Because you're in that state, that you're able to actually see possibility. You're actually able to notice and recognize when something is in alignment with your life. Because when we're not in that state, when we're hunkered in and just worrying about that thing that happened a week ago or yesterday or this morning in an email, you're not able to see possibility when it's right in front of you. You're not able to recognize the things that are supporting you on your journey or what you've asked the universe to manifest in your life. And so we want to get to that place so that we can truly welcome life to expand. And so resistance equals clinging, fear, overthinking, pushing, grasping. Any of those words ring true at times in our life? Yeah. Flow, however, is trusting, responding, allowing, moving with life. Like we're just moving in that state. And flow is not passive, it's responsive, right? We're actually able to respond in those moments and respond from a place of true freedom and love. So when our inner world is open, manifestation becomes the natural outpouring of consciousness. It's like it just happens. Making sense? Yeah. Yeah. So we want to pause. We've talked about this before. I have a bunch of these now. Pause, breathe, flow. Doesn't that sound good? Yeah. I mean, sometimes we might have to pause, breathe, and surrender, right? Sometimes we might have to pause, breathe, and soften in the moment. But really what we're looking for is that pause, breathe, flow state where life is singing. And I often think of, like I know as a musician I've experienced that, but I often think of, for me, watching athletes. Doesn't matter what they're doing, but when you watch the Olympics, when you watch athletes who are really great at what they do, it's when they get out of the way of themselves that they can truly perform at their highest peak. And they may not win, but that's not what they're after usually. I mean, yes, they want to win, but really when most of the interviews or books I've read on athletes, what they're aiming for is to peak and do their very best on the day. And hopefully that very best is enough to come in first place. But they want to work their way up to that big race at the Olympics and deliver their best performance ever on that day. So they want to break their old record, right? That's what they're aiming for. And they need to be in that state where they're not hindered by past results or past injuries or hurts or whatever that's happened in their life. So, this flow state, yesterday I was, let me go back. So there was a time in my life where I worked in the film business, and I had this great opportunity to be a second assistant director on a feature film. It was an independent feature. They had a budget just over $1 million, so not a big budget. This is going back, though, to like 1998, sometime in that time frame. And so what a second AD does is you work with the first AD in prep to build out the entire shooting schedule for the whole picture, right? So you have all your days, what scenes are going to be shot on those days, the locations that you're going to be in, and then the second AD basically runs the call sheet every day, creates it for the next day, has all the times on there, so you have to do all of the technical work for making sure everybody knows when they need to show up, where they need to be, where we're shooting, location, all of that stuff, and then that call sheet goes out. And also one of the jobs of the second AD is to call all of the cast and let them know what their call time is. Because every day you might have new cast members that have not, they weren't there today shooting, but they're coming in tomorrow. And so there was this particular day where we had a late start to the day. I think we were starting at noon, something around there. And I was down on Granville Island with Leslie. We were just doing some shopping in the morning, and we had a call time in the afternoon. And I realized that the key actor for the day, I had not called them the day before to let them know what time they needed to be on set, and they're first up. Like, the whole first part of the day is them, and if they're not there, we have nothing to shoot. So I think I had a cell phone. Yeah, I had one of those little Nokia 626s or something, you know, it's basically a pocket dial phone, that's it. And I realized that I hadn't called them, and I immediately panicked. Like, to the point where, this is so dumb, I'm running through the parking lot to nowhere. Like, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere near this person. I don't even know where they live, but some reason I'm thinking if I run really fast somewhere, this will change everything. And I'm cursing and swearing at myself for this, like just a complete state of panic, you know, heart just like you can feel it pumping out of my chest. And I couldn't get a hold of him for like an hour. And I finally got a hold of him. His name is David Lovegren. So David, I know you live in England, and if by chance you come across this, thank you once again for saving me, because my job was on the line. I finally got a hold of him, and he's like, oh, dude, no problem. I know how to read a call sheet. It's all good. I knew what time I had to be there. I thought it funny that you didn't phone me, but no problem. I'll be there on time, right? So like an hour later, I'm just like, oh, thank you. So here's the point. So yesterday, I had a live session on Insight Timer for 7:30 in the morning. And I had a gig Friday night with the Mood Swings, which is why my drums aren't here, and I got in really late. So I was up late, and I wasn't quite ready to go at 7:30. I started 2 minutes late, which I don't like to do. So I was already kind of, a little mad at myself because I was starting late. Then I go live, there's like 30 to 40 people already in the live session, and my microphone's not working. And so I'm looking at my computer trying to figure out what is wrong. Like, why is my microphone not working? Why can't they hear me? And the point of this story is that 15 years ago, I would have been panicking. Like, I would have been in a state where I can't actually think, what is the next thing I should do, right? You know that you can't even figure out what you should do, let alone do it calmly. And so what I found after, as I got to reflect on it, was I just worked through each problem one at a time, was like, okay, that's on, that's on. Meanwhile, people are like, we can't hear you. So you're getting those texts. And I was able to just block that out and work through each problem. I eventually had to refresh my browser, so my Google browser, I had to refresh it, which I was concerned, like, if I do that, what's going to happen? I don't know. I'll do it. It booted me out of the live, so I had to go back in, and still my mic didn't work, so I went through all the troubleshooting things again, and finally I got it going. 9 minutes later, I got my microphone working. But what was great was I was talking about flow as well yesterday. People got to witness that I actually was just calm. I got to witness that I was calm. And so I am grateful for unity and these teachings that I have decided or chosen in my life to really bring into my awareness, because they've changed me from the person I used to be, where 15 years ago I'd have been running out of my home into the street thinking, this will solve the problem. If I just run fast, everything will be fixed. That doesn't work, by the way. Unless you're being chased by something, that might work. But as far as making a phone call, running really fast doesn't help. Okay, there's nothing good that can come from that. So, this is where that idea of pause comes in. Even though I wasn't thinking pause, breathe, flow, I was actually practicing that, because I've practiced it enough that it's an automatic thing now. That's the key to our prayer and meditation practice, doing it every day, is we're retraining ourselves to be able to manage ourselves when things come up. It's like getting back to the athletes. They train and practice the same stuff over and over again so that when they're in the moment, they don't have to think about it. It's automatic. It just takes over, and we're able to enter that state of being able to block out all the outside noise and go, okay, what do I need to do here? Calmly. And everybody thinks you're calm. You might still be inside, have that energy going, but you're in the moment, you're present, you're able to manage yourself. And I think that's what Jesus was trying to teach us in a lot of ways, was that ability to go within and trust our nature, trust our divine selves to be there for us when we need it. Not the outside world, but the inside world. That's the place that we want to focus. And that's why prayer, meditation, a practice on a daily basis is the key. So we might affirm, I live in the flow of divine life. I move with ease. I act with clarity. And I trust the rhythm of good unfolding through me. That's something that we can think about.